Hello, good evening. Welcome to yet another episode of the Diaspora Spotlight. My name is Marian Njoroge. Today, I have with me Danson Mukile from the United States. He is a diaspora activist and a community leader. He's been in Kenya for the last 1 week, championing for different activities, but among key of them is to seek the president's support, together with the support of the ruling party, for them to be allowed to vote and to have more polling stations in the United States. That is just one of the many issues that we will dissect for the next 30 minutes and have a conversation with him. Hi, Danson.
Hi.
How are you?
Good to see you, Maria.
Please tell our viewers who you are. I know you mainly from Twitter and from our interactions this week.
Yeah, so my name is Danson. Danson Mukile. I'm based in Dallas, Texas, and I'm the team lead for the Diaspora Technical Working Group, which comprises of leaders across the world, about 37 countries. They are leaders in associations, organizations, or some of them are independent. So I'm the team lead, and our core mandate is just to look at the voting rights of Kenyans living in the diaspora.
Okay, so for someone who's never heard of the Technical Working Group, what is it that you guys do and how long have you been in existence?
Yeah, thank you. So the Technical Working Group has been almost going to 2 years now. It was just a dream or a vision that I came up with and reached out to various leaders, small team, that in the last general elections we had a very dismal number of Kenyans voting or even registered. We have about 10,400 Kenyans registered in the diaspora, and that one really prompted me, what can I do despite working and living in the US? How can I support my community and the larger diaspora? So that's why we looked at the legislation, which is the most impeding thing in the whole process. We have regulations and laws that are in place that actually, instead of helping us to vote as the Constitution says, it actually prevents us to vote. So those are the things we came together and looked at the distance, looked at the cost, looked at various parameters, and I'm happy that 2 years now we are really getting the green light in this conversation.
So in this case, what does the green light mean and whose support do you need to make this work?
So we have gone across all political, of course this is a political process. If you want to change the vote, it's definitely political. So our main key stakeholder is the political class and the political parties. We have had a meeting with the various political parties, including Raila Odinga, Kalonzo, and today we had a meeting with the president. Despite being the president, is also the political leader in the UDA. So we are marshalling all the support. We have made the IEBC, of course, who are supposed to implement these. Various committees of parliament, members of parliament. We have made LSK, we have made Katiba Institute, we have made ELOC, the one that observes the elections. We have had this discussion with them and they give us their support on it. However, we are like, until it is done, we can't stop. We have to continue. Empty promises without action is nothing.
So, Danson, I'm curious, for something in the Constitution to change, as much as Parliament does play a role, I understand that we might require a referendum to change some of those clauses. Is that something that you're prepared for?
No, for this one, we don't need a referendum. It's already in law. So what we're doing is just to expand, like the Regulation 32 of 2011 and 2016, 2012 to be specific, says that we can only vote at a mission. That means the embassy or the consulate. The people in the US, for instance, it's impossible for them to travel to the embassy. It's far. So we want to change that and say, despite us voting at the embassy, we can also do it outside the embassies. Other countries are doing in the last year. Rwanda did it. They had like 17 new polling stations in the US despite having the embassy. So it's a common practice now. All you need to do is just have the country-to-country relationship. And at the moment we don't have, Kenya is not at war with any country, so we can do it in any country for now, unless the laws of that country prevent it. Like for example, China. China don't allow political activities, so you're only limited in the international space. So if you have in China, you can use only the international schools, or the embassy, but you cannot do outside the way we do in other countries.
I'm still looking at it from a Kenyan point of view. I do understand that the right to vote is important, because even as a Kenyan, I am looking forward to 2027 so that I can vote. So Kenyan voting is a very emotional process as much as it is political.
Yeah.
So you seeking to increase polling stations in diaspora countries, does it make a physical sense when you present it to the political parties, or when you present it to the president? How do you explain it financially that it actually makes sense to have these many political parties, these many polling stations?
So today, diaspora, and when you had a conversation with the president today, it is no longer the way people used to view it. People just live in the country and go. It's a force. It's about partnership, and we must involve them in everything we do, including voting. There's a discussion or the question about the budget, that it will be very expensive. What IEBC has failed to tell us is how much for the diaspora. They have not answered that question, and we are hoping we already have a current petition in High Court that is being worked on. We are hoping they'll tell us how much, because they always go with a blanket budget, to party a budget for this. But how much is it for the diaspora? Is it one shilling? Is it, we have seen other countries like Rwanda used about 600 million. Yeah. So is it, how much is it? Now, if you give us the budget and you say we're gonna, let's say for example, about personnel, the IEBC officers, here in Kenya, how to pay them? Do I need to be paid in the diaspora? How much would that be? We volunteer ourselves, so it will be less cost. For the only cost they will expect, they will incur, is the logistics part and maybe the security of the ballots. But these other things, it's not a lot of money. We have technology now. Do I need someone to come to DC to teach me how to vote? I don't need that. We can use technology to do webinars, to do some of the, now we have AI. AI can walk you through the whole process of how to vote. So if they're gonna say, okay, we need money to do vote education, then it doesn't make sense for the diaspora. If we can reduce that by just using the technology, maybe half of whatever they're asking for. So the budget, I don't think, is not the issue, is the political goodwill.
And were you to be given a budget, say you're told you will need 100 million to vote, and you're told the country cannot provide that for you, but however, this is how much you will need, do you think you can marshal your community and the people that you lead to actually contribute towards that particular budget?
That's true. We can support it, but we have also the development partners. The technical working group is really one, I am just amazed. I've even been meeting some members who I've never met, but they have really deep connection to some of the influential organizations in the diaspora. And if finance will be the issue, then as a technical working group, we'll be like, who can you approach to make this thing work? So we are not just pushing for it, we are also want to partner. We are asking IEBC, how much do you really need? And they haven't answered that question. So it will be easy for me to go look for a partner to say, this is what we are supporting in the US or the UK, can you chip in, can you do this and this? But we don't know, we're just pushing for it for the law, but they haven't given us any amount to use.
Previously, you've contributed in so many other ways towards nation building, but over the last few weeks of talking to Kenyans who've come back, I get the feeling that it's no longer enough.
Voting is very paramount to any nation. A country that denies you how to vote, it denies you all other rights. If you look at the US, for instance, the women, they never used to vote until 1920 or somewhere, 1919, yeah, if I quote. Then they became so powerful in the country once they started voting. In Kenya, remember the pre-colonial period, we never used to vote, we were all discriminated. So voting really gives you a chance to choose a person who is going to lead you. We pour a lot of billions in this country. Now, last year we had 641 billion last year, which is like close to 5 billion. So if you are pouring that amount of money, who is really leading us? for that particular money. So we are just saying, if you want to tax us, or if you want us to send more money, then we need to have a voice on who to choose to lead us. So that is all what we are fighting for. The right to vote is very critical, and once we get it, the other things will fall into place.
So when we talk about voting, currently you're only voting for the president,
yes,
despite the fact that you have those consulate and high commissions. Do you want to also take part in internal voting within your constituencies and the regions that you come from?
Yeah, so there's been a lot of discussion because when you look at Article 81 and 82 and talk about progressive, voting should be progressive, registration of voting should be progressive. To us, we meant that once we start with the president, then we can go to the governor. Like for me, if I come from Trans Nzoia, for instance, I'm able to vote in that governor from the diaspora. Now, logistically, it has been a challenge because if you look at the ballot paper, it will be very messy, right? You can imagine I'm voting for the governor, I'm voting for the MCA, I'm voting for the MP, I'm voting for the women rep. You know how much it really looks so messy, and politicians will be like, it's not necessary because an opponent. But for the president, we start the presidency, which is very critical in all this discussion, but we hope in future we'll be able to vote other seats as well.
Okay, that's actually okay, because I was actually thinking this whole conversation lies on logistics as much as it lies on goodwill.
Yeah.
You really have to provide a framework through which this is going to work.
Yeah.
So how is, like, are you really, is that a conversation that is convincing? So far so good.
We have really received positive feedback. I've not, except the Bunge, we went to Bunge, we spent there 2 days, and we got some negative feedback from some of the members of parliament. I may not say their names, but
you can tell us what they said.
So they feel like they will not be able to control the diaspora vote. You know, they control what it means. And you said we vote like Kenyans. I'll be honest with you, diasporians vote exactly like how we are voting here in Kenya. Meaning tribe is very critical. Yeah, it will be so, and there's just few instances, but let's say our president is a Kalenjin. It will be so hard that most Kalenjins in the diaspora will vote against the president. We just have a few, one here and there. So tribe is very critical. The running mate, who is the running mate. So it shouldn't be an issue that it will cause some chaos, things like that. The pattern, how the diaspora have been voting, because we are superly connected to our homeland, it is so hard that you'll find there will be it will just be going the direction of how the country is voting, to be honest. Let's say Baba is running. The Luo from Germany and the US, they'll vote in Baba. They'll go in and they'll vote that direction. So they'll not be like, let's switch because you're diaspora. We vote on a very tribal lines. So that should not be an issue at all. So all you do, convince your region. As you do it here, it is reflecting what the diaspora is. But you have few instances where people vote with their minds on, the other's mind is off. Sorry for that.
It's okay. I've noticed something interesting in conversations with even the Kenyans that I spoke to when you were at the UDA headquarters. A lot of you are coming back home to seek for political seats.
Okay, it's our constitutional right. Article 38. We are citizens. We have the right to participate and to also run for election. So it is our constitutional right. We already have members of parliament who came from the diaspora and also governors. Even now, just looking at our cabinet, generally the government, they are all ex-diasporians, except the president. President, yes, hajakuwa diaspora sana.
So what you're saying is, if I need to be a cabinet secretary, I need to go to the diaspora then come back?
I think it's like an added advantage, to be honest, because I'm looking at the ministers we have, they've been in the diaspora. They talk highly about the diaspora. And that's one of the reasons why I'll be able to push some policies in government. Because most of the people who are today in the government, they were part of the diaspora. So we already have members of parliament ex-diasporians, but the challenge has only been one. I've sat with 3 of them, and I said, why can't you push diaspora agenda? It is always rosy, nice when they are trying to come back home to run, with support with money, financial support, but once they go in that house, I had to take this one out, but I think I've been told that once you enter parliament, unaambiwanga hiyo kizungu yako mingi, akisha huko, like you go in unakuwa brainless, to be honest. You just have to follow the party position. So they may not be able to push a diaspora agenda. And they'll tell you, I have a constituency to focus on. You know, you're not my constituency. Yes, you helped me, thank you so much. You supported me, thank you so much. But if you are supporting someone who wants to run back home, I'll be honest, I'll not speak the truth. Once you enter that house chambers, it will be so hard for that person to actually advocate for the diaspora. Unless we have our own who has been elected or appointed specifically for diaspora, where his or her constituency is diaspora. That is when we push others. But this coming to run, you focus home.
Should the path of politics fail and say the ruling party decides to nominate someone to represent diaspora affairs, is it sufficient?
It could not, but it's a good step. We'll be happy, like the way we started with the president wanted the whole ministry and he gave us a State Department. We are happy for that. So what we are proposing in our amendment is to look at Article 100 of the Constitution, which brings in what we call special groups. So Article 100 recognizes various special groups. We have person with disability, the marginalized, the youth, you know. Then under there, it gives you an open that you can actually plug in diaspora. So the Article 100 doesn't completely shut off how many special groups should be there. It gives a leeway. The last part of it, that actually you can introduce another interest group. Now that brings us to Elections Act 2011, which now explains who is a special interest groups and their composition in parliament, how they're supposed to be selected. So our focus is, we don't want to add more seats in parliament. There are 16 nominated seats. So what you're saying is, let's be fair, when political parties are sending their party list, which is done I think 7 or 14 days before the election, they should send in a category called diaspora. So we have person with disability, the youth, marginalized, then diaspora. So that to share those 16 seats, it will be fair, to be honest, it will be fair. So that have someone who is in parliament, but his interest is
Diaspora. I remember how vocal you were on X when the legislation about the High Court held on that you should continue voting with
ukikuza diaspora ni kama umekuza mlima.
Yeah, I remember you're very vocal about that.
Because I've lived there, I've seen the frustrations we go through, right? And these laws, like changing a regulation, it doesn't require parliament, it requires a committee of the parliament, like JLAC. They can just call for a sitting, say we have received this proposal, Danson team will have brought it, let's change it, and it's done. As quickly as like that. But if you want to change an act of parliament, then you have to go to the floor of the house. So when I saw that petition has been thrown out, and I looked at the reasoning of the judge, I was not comfortable with it. I wasn't part of the petitioners, but he said that only people in the East Africa are the ones who can actually use the ID and the passport. But us who are outside can only use a passport, because when you're leaving the airport, we always get that as a document. Something that the judge didn't know is that we have diasporians who are born there, right? They never left this airport. Their parents could have left, but they dropped them there. So they were born there, and they are 18. What is their first document?
Their birth certificate and ID number.
The ID
Yes.
is the first document. So this person who might turn 18 years old, yeah, the day of election or after the election is eligible to vote. But because the process of getting an ID is more tedious, it's easy to replace, to get a passport, but the ID is more challenging.
Outside the country?
You're outside the country. So before you get a passport, you have to get an ID first. You can't apply both. So what will happen to them?
They're locked
Millions
out.
of them, they're locked out because they only vote with a passport. So I know the petitioner have gone to the Court of Appeal to appeal because you're denying so many Kenyans. We have like in my technical working group, you find some of the ladies or they have family, let's say in Texas. Yes, they have the passport, they have an ID, but their kids, awana, you know. So the first document they'll do is to get, you have to apply, get your ID, then apply, get your passport. Is it fair?
It's a tedious process that
and
might not
the reason is like
materialize.
he feels that it is insecurity, that some people might show up with an ID, they're dual citizens. He doesn't know. Like I was like, there's a process of how you can actually renounce your citizenship. Me having an American passport doesn't mean I'm not a Kenyan citizen. I'm allowed to have both. My child, as long as it's born from me in America, automatically is a Kenyan and an American. So it's not like the way he was. So generally, I didn't think the judge did a deep research on it, and we're hoping the Court of Appeal will reverse as to what you're seeking there, so that in 2027, either document can work, because the East Africa is working, even in Kenya is working, and biometrics. Once you ukichukua biometrics zako, then they're unique. Yeah. So.
Thank you very much for your time today, for answering our questions as honestly as you could, and for sharing your opinions. Danson Mukile is a very vocal person online. He shares his sentiments and he does not hold back. That is one interesting thing about him, and he's involved in a lot of community work, bringing the people together. And I would argue that's one of those things that you really pride yourself in, bringing people together. So when in Kenya. He is a living. We wish him a safe flight as he goes back to Texas. Thank you for staying with us for this episode of the Diaspora Spotlight. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.
To the diaspora community, we are, as you work and send your money, we have a team that is fighting for you. We have made a lot of inroads, especially on the voting and other things. So I'm hoping to be. You can join us. Once you get something, we'll come back to you and explain to you in every detail. Your voice and your vote is the main cause to change our nation. Thank you.